What's behind you and what's ahead of you matter far less than what's already alive within you. Have you ever felt awake, yet somehow asleep? Like life is unfolding as a film and you're standing in the background, watching when you were meant to be the one directing the scene. That feeling isn't accidental. The search for the monad ends today, not because I possess some hidden truth, but because I'm about to point you back to what has always belonged to you. Inside you is a force, a divine spark with the ability to reshape your inner world, and, through it, everything you experience. Modern physics tries to describe it. Ancient mystics learned how to work with it. Yet for most people, this power remains dormant, locked behind layers of conditioning and distraction. It's painful to watch so many souls trapped in constant struggle, endlessly pushing, never touching the deeper current that could carry them forward. But the fact that you're here, listening right now, that's not random. I don't believe in coincidence. The universe has its own way of arranging encounters. This message has been crafted with intention. I'm guiding you toward a moment near the end, where I'll share an ancient command, something preserved for centuries, overlooked by many. It's the missing key. But before you receive it, you must first see the greatest lie ever told about who you are. Let's set an intentional field together. Instead of repeating a mindless mantra, write this in the comments. What are you choosing to commit to for yourself from this moment forward? Speak your truth and let it become a signal that inspires others. The secret you shouldn't know. You know, sometimes I wonder, what if life isn't just this? This rush, this incessant search for something that always seems to slip through our fingers. What if deep down inside us, there existed a force, a kind of silent power that, if we learned to listen to it, would change everything? I'm not talking about a magic trick, but something real, a spark that has always been there. Philosophers, mystics, even scientists, they all seem to have stumbled upon it, giving it names like monad, 0 point. But what touches me is the idea that this isn't a prize to be won, but something that is already ours, just dormant. Perhaps you felt this before. That quiet moment at the end of the day, looking out the window, when a strange feeling visits you, an intuition that the world we see and touch is only the shell of something much bigger, much deeper. It's not a voice, it's more of a feeling, an echo in the soul that whispers, there's more. I used to ignore it, thinking it was just tiredness or my mind creating things. But over time, I began to understand that this feeling is not a flaw. It's an invitation. It's the most authentic part of us trying to remind us of who we really are, beyond the roles we play. It's so easy to get lost in the noise. Modern life is a machine of distractions. We wake up with our cell phones in our hands and go to sleep with them beside us, in a constant flow of information, obligations, and worries. It seems we've been programmed to always look outward, never inward. And in all this noise, that whisper becomes almost inaudible. But the truth, the one I feel in my heart, is that paying attention to that calling, to that feeling that there is something more, is the first real step. I know how hard it is to hear that calling alone when the outside world is constantly screaming. We try to connect, but routine swallows us back up. I don't want you to just stay in that state of wanting. That's why I've prepared a practical guide, the Monad Code, which acts as a map for you to silence that noise and access your true strength whenever you need it. If you want to stop getting lost in distraction and need and take control, access is already available in the first pinned comment. It's not about blindly believing, but about giving yourself permission to explore your own inner universe. And this force, this monad, I don't see it as something separate from myself. It's my very essence. It's as if each of us were a unique note, and at the same time part of an immense symphony. The idea that within me now exists the potential to heal, to create, to transform what afflicts me is overwhelming, and at the same time profoundly comforting. The universe is not a distant and cold place. It pulsates within me, within you, in every breath. We've just forgotten how to feel this pulsation. The journey to rediscover that power isn't found in dusty books or complex rituals. I think it begins with a very simple yet courageous decision: to question what we've been taught about life, about ourselves. The courage to think, what if life doesn't have to be this constant struggle? The moment we open ourselves to this simple possibility, something changes. Reality, which seems so solid and immutable, begins to show its more fluid nature, as if waiting for our command. But, and there's always a but in this journey, right? Even before touching that power, there's a barrier, an idea so fundamental, so ingrained in us, that we don't even realize it's there, dictating the rules of the game. It's a lie we were told, and that we tell ourselves every day. And uncovering that lie, for me, was the most painful, and at the same time, the most liberating step of all. This great lie is the idea that we are separate. It's something we learn even before we learn to speak. I am here, you are there, the world is out there, my pain is only mine, my joy is only mine. We create invisible walls around ourselves and spend our entire lives reinforcing them. This belief that we are isolated islands is the root of so much suffering. It puts us in a constant state of defense, of competition. If we are separate, then the other is a potential threat, and the world's resources are limited. So, I need to secure mine before it runs out. This programming is the basis of almost everything in our society. We compete at school, at work, even in relationships. We are taught that happiness is a prize won by achieving external goals, the right job, the right house, the right body, and we run, exhausting ourselves in this endless pursuit. And even when we achieve some of these things, that feeling comes, that emptiness that doesn't go away. Because the emptiness doesn't come from a lack of things. It comes from a feeling of disconnection, of not belonging to something bigger. What fascinates me is that science, which for so long seemed to be moving in the opposite direction, is now getting closer to what mystics have always said. Quantum physics shows us a universe that, at its most fundamental level, is an inseparable web of energy. There are no separate things. Everything is interconnected. The separation that I feel, that you feel, is an illusion created by our limited senses and by a mind that needs to categorize everything to understand. The truth is that we are not in the universe. We are the universe experiencing itself. And when that realization hits, everything changes. If I am not an island, but a wave in the same ocean as all the others, then I am not a victim of reality. I am part of it, influencing and being influenced at every moment. The idea that every atom of my body carries the information of the whole, like a hologram, is dizzying. It means that loneliness, the feeling of being small and powerless, is the result of profound forgetfulness. It's like a king who forgot he is king and lives like a beggar. Understanding this connection isn't just a nice idea to think about. It's the key that opens a door. When we begin to dissolve this belief in separation, the script changes. I stop being a passive supporting actor and become an active participant in creating my life. My thoughts, my feelings, they cease to be private events and become vibrations that I send out into this cosmic web, subtly shaping what comes back to me. And this influence isn't magic. It happens through the most incredible instrument we've ever been given, a technology we use every day, but which we rarely stop to appreciate or understand its true potential. A technology that is, at the same time, the anchor and the wings of our consciousness, our own body, the secret technology inside your body. Once you start feeling this connection, looking at your body in a different way, it ceases to be just a body. It stops being this machine that ages, that hurts, that limits us. I began to perceive it as an interface, a biological antenna of a sophistication that I can barely comprehend. It is not a prison for my consciousness, but the only vehicle it has to feel the sun on its skin, to embrace someone, to experience this world. Each cell, each heartbeat, is part of an incredible system that receives and transmits information all the time. And at the center of all this is DNA. We learn in school that it's a code, the recipe for the cake that forms us. But that view is so limited. I've been reading and feeling that it's much more than that. It's like a living antenna, a structure that not only stores genetic information, but also captures and emits light, vibrations, energy. It's the bridge between the invisible world of my thoughts and feelings and the concrete world I call reality. That's why activating this inner power can't just be a mental exercise. It has to go through the body. Activating this power for me has become synonymous with learning to tune into this antenna. It's like having an incredibly powerful radio but always leaving it on the same static station of fear, anxiety, and doubt. And of course, life responds to that frequency. Learning to change the dial, to adjust my own biology to frequencies of calm, gratitude, and trust, that seems to be the real work. And this tuning is not a metaphor. It's a real, physical process of bringing coherence to my internal system. This tuning process begins with something very simple: listening. Listening to what the body is saying. That lump in the throat before a difficult conversation, the tension in the shoulders after a stressful day, the warmth in the chest when something good happens. All of this is information. It's data that my antenna is processing. For a long time I ignored these signals or tried to silence them. Now I try to welcome them, to understand them. It's the first step to stop being a passive receiver, only reacting to what comes from outside, and become a conscious transmitter. But this tuning, this ability to adjust the frequency of my antenna, isn't as simple as turning a knob. It doesn't respond solely to my willpower. I've discovered that it depends on a dialogue, a constant dance between two immense power centers that we all possess. And most of the time, including within me, these two centers are at war. one wanting to go one way, the other another, blocking any chance of real and lasting change. I think everyone knows this internal war well. It's the struggle between what we think and what we feel. How many times have I drawn up a perfect plan in my head, with all the logic in the world, but my heart simply wasn't in it? There was a weight, a doubt, I don't know if I can do it, that sabotaged everything before it even began. It's a silent and exhausting battle that takes place inside us and that keeps us going in circles. Our mind, our brain, is a fantastic tool. It's electric, fast, it analyzes, plans, visualizes. It's what draws the treasure map. It points the direction. Go that way, it says. But thought by itself seems to have limited power. It's like a spark. A spark can start a fire, but it's not the fire. It needs fuel. And for a long time I thought that insisting on thought, on willpower, was the way, but I was wrong. The true fuel, the engine of all creation, I feel, comes from the heart, and not in a poetic way. The heart generates an immense electromagnetic field, much more powerful than that of the brain. This field is the language of emotion. It is feeling that gives life and power to thought. If the mind designs the blueprint for the house, it is emotion that attracts the energy, the resources, the synchronicity for it to be built. Trying to change life only with the power of the mind is like shouting against the wind. The message is lost. It has no force. True power, what I call a state of flow or conscious creation, seems to emerge when these two centers stop fighting and begin to dance together. When the clarity of my mind aligns with the conviction of my heart, at that moment the message I send to the universe becomes one, coherent, powerful. It's as if a scattered beam of light transforms into a focused laser. There is no more contradiction, no more doubt. The problem is that we live in incoherence. I think I want peace, but I feel an anxiety that consumes me. I think I deserve love, but I feel a profound loneliness. This dissonance is what creates our frustrating reality. The universe doesn't seem to respond to what we say we want, but to what we vibrate, to what we truly feel deep down. And our vibration is this confusing mix of contradictory thoughts and feelings. Achieving this harmony isn't about pretending everything is all right. It's a more subtle process. It's about finding, even if only for a moment, the feeling of a desire already fulfilled. It's about feeling gratitude for the healing before it's complete. It's about feeling the joy of abundance, even when the bank account says otherwise. It's an act of faith, but a faith anchored in feeling. And when this union happens, this energetic signature travels to a place from where everything seems to originate. This unified message of mind and heart doesn't go to nothing. It travels to a place I can only describe as a field of pure potential. Before anything exists, before light, matter, form, there is this space. The ancients called it ether. Field physicists called it ground zero. I like to think of it as a fertile silence, an ocean of energy where all possibilities already exist, waiting to be called into being. It's not a void, but a fullness. It's like an infinite blank canvas. Every life I can imagine, every version of myself, every solution to my problems, it all already exists there like a frequency, a possibility. The life I live now is just one of those infinite possibilities that somehow I chose and brought into my reality, mostly unconsciously. The idea that I can consciously choose a new possibility from this field is what drives me. But how do you access that place? The key, and this was the most counterintuitive thing for me, is silence. Our mind is a noise-making machine. It's always analyzing, judging, worrying, and this constant noise is like static that prevents us from tuning into the field. To be able to process new information, to choose a new possibility, my consciousness first needs to quiet down. It's not about stopping thinking, which is impossible, but about finding a place to observe, to witness thoughts without being swept away by them. It is in that space between one thought and another, in that moment of pure presence, that the connection happens. When the mind calms down, I feel as if my consciousness expands. It ceases to be just the self with my history and my problems, and becomes a point of pure attention, focused on this field of potential. It is the moment when I stop operating from the memory of the past and begin to create from the infinity of the now. It is when I cease to be an effect and become a cause. And the most beautiful thing is that this state doesn't require anything extraordinary. I find it in my breath, in the warmth of a cup of tea, in the attentive gaze at a falling leaf. It's a return to simplicity, to the present. The goal is simply to find that point of stillness where the ego calms down and connection with the source becomes possible. It is in this silence that my intention, charged with the emotion of my heart, can finally be heard. And this capacity, this ability to imprint a new reality on this field of potential, leads me to the deepest and most transformative conclusion about who I am and what my true role is in this universe. A truth that, once felt, forever changes the game of life. You are the architect, not the spectator. And so, this ability to touch the silence and imprint an intention on the field led me to a conclusion that honestly scared me a little at first. That I am not just a passenger in this life. For a long time I lived as if I were watching a movie, reacting to the scenes, cheering, suffering, but always with the feeling that the script was already written. The idea that I am the director, the screenwriter, is an immense responsibility. And the craziest thing is that physics, with that double-slit experiment, seems to whisper the same thing, that particles only become something when we look at them. This notion that reality is not a fixed thing but a field of possibilities that responds to our attention changes everything. My attention ceased to be something passive. I realized that it is a creative force. Where I place my focus, that's where my energy goes, and that's where my reality begins to take shape. It was a shock to realize how much of my attention I was dedicating to what I didn't want. To problems, to worries, to fear of the future based on the pains of the past. I was unknowingly watering the weeds in my own garden. Accepting this is difficult. It's easier to blame the world, the government, the past, but it's also incredibly liberating. If my reality is a reflection of my focus, then the most important decision of my day is, where am I going to look now? Am I going to look at the lack or at the gratitude, at the problem or at the possibility of a solution? Life has ceased to be something that happens to me and has become something that responds to me. The world outside has become a mirror. And often, I didn't like what I saw, but I had to admit that the reflection came from me, and that's where the search stopped. All that searching for external power, for enlightenment that would come from outside, lost its meaning. The power was never out there. It was always here, in my ability to choose where to place my attention, my focus, my heart. The work is not to fix the world, but to change the observer by changing my internal frequency. Because if the world is a mirror, when I change, the reflection has no choice but to change as well. Understanding this, feeling it in my body, is the turning point. It's when we stop trying to clean the mirror and start washing our own face. Every thought, every feeling, every belief I nurture is an instruction I'm giving to the universe. It's both a burden and a blessing. And with this awareness, with this burden and this blessing, I finally felt ready for the next step. The step that's no longer about understanding but about doing. The step that truly activates this power, the activation, the I am command. And then we get to the heart of the matter, the moment when theory needs to become practice. I realized that this activation isn't a slow process like learning a new skill. It's more like flipping a switch, a leap. It's the instant when we stop operating from what we lack and start operating from who we decide to be. It's the brutal difference between asking and commanding. And for my whole life, I've been a beggar. Asking for health, for peace, for money seems like the right thing to do, doesn't it? But I understood that by asking, I was shouting my own lack to the universe. Each "please give me this" was a confirmation of my identity as someone who doesn't have. And the universe, like that faithful mirror, only reflected more of that absence. That's why so many of my attempts to think positively failed. They came from a place of despair, of desire, and not from a place of being. Commanding is different. It's an act of identity. It's stopping asking to be, and simply being. And the activation for me happened through the simplest and, at the same time, most powerful declaration that exists. A declaration made in that inner silence, with a clear mind and a full, convinced heart. The command "I am," not as an empty phrase, but as a declaration of truth. It's informing reality about who you are from now on. When I say I am peace or I am abundance, I'm not trying to deceive myself. I'm emitting a new signal. I'm choosing, as the observer, which of the infinite versions of myself I want to bring into reality. It's an act of assuming the identity of the person I want to become, understanding that they already exist as a possibility. It's like putting on a new outfit and deciding that from that moment on, that outfit is your skin. But words alone are hollow. For this command to work, I need to feel it. I need to feel its truth vibrating within me. It's the challenge of feeling peace amidst chaos, of feeling gratitude for abundance before it materializes. It's the true work of aligning what I think with what I feel, creating a new reality from the inside out. It's about stopping waiting for life to change so I can feel good, and starting to feel good so that life can change. And in taking that step, in daring to declare this new identity with my whole being, I discovered something incredible. I realized I wasn't doing this alone. There was a force, a current supporting me, as if the entire universe was waiting for this decision of mine. The moment I dared to make that statement, I felt as if I had connected to something greater, It was no longer just me on my small journey. It was as if I had entered a river, a current of consciousness that was already flowing. The feeling of loneliness in the search began to dissipate. I realized that all over the world, thousands, perhaps millions of people are making the same movement, waking up, questioning, choosing. There's this theory of morphic resonance which says that when a number of individuals of a species learn something new, it becomes easier for everyone else to learn it too. It's as if we create a collective information field, and I feel that's exactly what's happening with the awakening of consciousness. Each person who heals, who frees themselves from a limiting belief, who activates their power, makes the path a little clearer and easier for those who come after. My decision to change wasn't an isolated act. It was, and is amplified by the courage of everyone who came before, and everyone who is on this same journey now. It's like catching a ride on a giant wave. The effort that once seemed Herculean becomes lighter, more fluid. The path is already being forged. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, just find the frequency of this movement and allow ourselves to be carried by it. This connection gave me a sense of purpose I didn't have before. My personal transformation ceased to be a selfish act. Every time I overcome a fear, every time I manage to keep my vibration high, I feel I'm contributing a drop of light to this collective ocean. My personal healing becomes a small part of the world's healing, and that's powerful fuel. Knowing that I am part of this global movement gives me strength and a sense of urgency. I am not just changing my life. I am participating in a historic transformation of human consciousness, but so that this new identity is not just a glimpse, a fleeting moment. I understood that I needed to do one last thing, perhaps the most difficult of all. I needed to let go, to finally let go of what bound me to the old world. The quantum leap, leaving the old behind. Activation is the ignition, but true transformation, I've discovered, requires a leap of faith. It's not about fixing my old self with all its wounds and flaws. Trying to fix the past is a dead end, because it keeps my attention fixed on exactly what I want to leave behind. True change is a letting go. It's an act of completely releasing the old identity and embracing the new one, body and soul. I like the image of the electron, which doesn't travel from one place to another. It simply disappears from one orbit and reappears in another. That's it. It's a quantum leap in consciousness. It's leaving the reality of scarcity and reappearing in the reality of abundance without needing to fill the gap between the two. It's a change of state, not a repair. In practice, this meant making the radical decision to stop feeding what I no longer wanted, to stop telling the same sad stories about my past, to stop complaining about what was lacking. Every time I caught myself doing this, I realized I was reactivating the old frequency, the old me. The leap requires me to shift my attention away from what is missing and place it, with loving stubbornness, on the reality I have already declared as my own. And that's the biggest challenge. The mind, with its old habits, screams. It brings back memories, doubts, fears. Who do you think you are? The secret I'm learning is not to fight against it, but to observe it like someone watching passing clouds, and gently redirect my focus again and again. It's a daily discipline, a choice for each moment. It's living from the end, feeling as if my desire were already real. It's a profound detachment from my old self. I am no longer the person who suffered that. That person was a version of me operating on a different frequency. By declaring, I am, I chose to be reborn in a new identity. Dwelling on the past is like trying to drive a new car, looking only in the rearview mirror. It's impossible to move forward. The focus has to be on the road ahead, and this act of letting go, of embodying the new, is what finally solidifies the activation. It's the transition from trying to be to simply being. It's when I stop waiting for the world to change to feel at peace, and begin to cultivate peace, so that the world around me can reflect it. And it is from this new place, this new state of being, that true life as a creator finally begins. And then the cycle closes. The call was heard. The illusion of separation perceived, the body recognized as an antenna. In the silence, the source was touched. Mind and heart finally at peace, dancing together. The power of the observer assumed, the old identity left behind with gratitude. And what remains is not emptiness, but fullness. This is the moment when everything integrates. The monad ceases to be a beautiful word and becomes my own living consciousness. The feeling is no longer that I have a power, but that I am that power. The realization that I am not only living in the universe, but that the universe is living through me. The incessant search for answers out there ends, because I have finally found the way back home within myself. Life from here on out is different. I am no longer a leaf in the wind, reacting to events. I begin to feel like the wind, or rather, like someone dancing with the wind. The challenges don't disappear. I haven't become a superhuman, but the way I see them has changed. They are no longer walls, they are invitations. Invitations for me to delve even deeper into my new truth, to refine my vibration. My new reality isn't a destination I've reached, it's a new point of departure. The activation was never the finish line. It was the true beginning. It's like spending your entire life playing a game without understanding the rules, and then suddenly being handed the manual. The game doesn't end, but now it becomes creative, engaging, and filled with possibility. I've come to see that the rules are simple: vibration, focus, identity. Each day now opens as a blank canvas. Each moment offers a fresh opportunity to choose the reality I want to feel and experience. I'm learning to become the steward of my own energy, knowing that when I tend to my inner garden, the outer world responds in kind. The old sense of powerlessness has dissolved into a quiet, sovereign, steady calm rooted in the knowing that everything I need already exists within me. The search is complete. The activation has occurred, and the journey continues, not as a wandering seeker, but as a conscious creator. With this new awareness, with this freedom, only one question truly matters, the question that begins each day anew. What do I choose to create today? If you've made it this far and feel this understanding has value, consider supporting the channel by exploring one of our ebooks through the link in the first pinned comment. Your support helps sustain this project and allows us to continue sharing in-depth content independently. We're deeply grateful for your presence and for walking this path with us. Thank you.